Good afternoon, everyone. It's 1 o'clock here on the um, East Coast, and I'm just letting in our most recent Jennifer Golding just joined us, which is really great. So I want to welcome everyone to the LinkedIn Live today. What I wanted to do this week is do a little bit of a change up. We always have people on who are speakers, and whether they're recruiters, hiring managers, who have expertise. I wanted to have a forum with job seekers. These are three wonderful job seekers that I met through Dan Roth's one of his job search Tuesdays, I believe, and we actually started a conversation about how to do LinkedIn and the like. And I said, let's just do a LinkedIn live chat and talk about anything related to job search. So what I think the best way to start, and is have each of you introduce yourselves, talk a little bit about what you want to, and then I'm going to pose a question to the group. I see right away I got Terry Seaman coming in from Somerset. Good Terry. All right, so Amanda, why don't we start with you? Just talk a little bit about yourself, or actually, I don't want to call it an elevator pitch because that's kind of hard. It doesn't, just however you want to, come across and let people know about yourself.
My name is Amanda McNevin. I am from Minneapolis. I am actively looking for roles in customer success, the umbrella of that, but customer success management. I am a former teacher. I have been in special education for roughly 10 years, but some sort of education based for most of my adult life. And I am realizing how incredibly parallel customer success and special education case management are, and honestly wishing that special education would change into student success versus special ed.
Welcome, Amanda. So which Jennifer, Douglas, I guess we'll go alphabetically.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. My professional background is in financial and client services and benefits. A consistent theme throughout my career has been volunteering for meaningful, impactful work. I am a mom to 3 amazing boys and took a career break for a few years to raise my family. And now I'm transitioning into human resources, and I'm passionate about diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and employee engagement.
All right. You're muted, Amanda. Jennifer, did you want to continue?
Oh, Jennifer Golding or Jennifer Douglas?
Jennifer Douglas. I guess we got disconnected for a second. Go ahead.
Oh, sure. So you didn't get my intro? Did you get my intro or no?
Yeah, we got most of it. Yeah. So Jennifer Golding, why don't we go to you?
All right. Hello, everyone. So I have a background in education, reading education, also nonprofit work where I worked with child care centers and homes to improve quality. I am making a career pivot into project management / people operations because they kind of go hand in hand, and I have quite a bit of transferable skills to help bridge that gap. I'm also taking some classes and have been participating in the local PTA, which has led to a lot of new skills that I didn't know I had before.
So what I wanted to do at the outset, I just want to introduce this call out where we have people calling from. We have someone from Calgary here today. I have my Jersey folks here. I also have Carroll County, Maryland in the house. I have London in the house. So we're really all over. I mean, if you can post in the chat also, if you're a recruiter or a job seeker, that might help us guide the conversation as well, because what I wanted to start thinking about are some of the challenges that Amanda, you and the two Jennifers have when it comes to looking for a job. I mean, do you find it's an issue matching requirements to your resume? Is it a question of not getting callbacks? And again, this is not a recruiter bashing thing, nothing like that. This is about trying to make, understand basically where people are coming from. So whoever wants to chime in first, I mean, this is just whatever, however you want to do this, we can make this very free form. Amanda, you're also on mute, I believe. So.
I know it's the background noise. And like for me, it's one of those things where I really appreciate when I'm talking that the other shifting noises in the background it makes things fuzzy for other people. So for me, that's just a habit that I've always gotten into as in Zoom calls and meetings. So I continue to do that. I know I actually put myself on mute.
Okay, sure. I see. So far, I see one recruiter, someone I know really well in New Jersey. So, what's a question that you would have about the process that you might think about maybe improving it, or just something that you would like to have some insights? And Scott Singleton, I believe, is someone that one of the Jennifers knows, I believe.
Yeah, so he facilitates the so every throughout the country, every area has a designated job center, and
Mhm.
so that's my local job center is here in Carroll County, and Scott Singleton works there, and he is a job consultant, but he also leads our local weekly job club. So I attend that weekly, and it's a virtual job club, and we share our wins, our challenges for the week, and then any resources that we discovered either through LinkedIn or through networking and things of that nature.
So, Jennifer Golden, is there a question that you would want to ask the group, other job seekers here? Because it seems like it's mainly a job seeker group, maybe to get a sense maybe of things that you want to know from them.
So I believe one of the challenges that I keep running across is how to best illustrate that even though I have a background in education, I can transfer those skills and activities into a new role and still be a valuable candidate.
So I would ask some of the career coaches here, anyone, does anyone find a similar challenge having to transition or portray themselves in a certain way? I see Deborah Feldman has a great thing here. Conduct SWOT analysis to identify potential obstacles threatening campaign processes and the like. And I know Whitney Kahn, who I've worked with before, she does talent acquisition in Raleigh, North Carolina. I would be curious to know from recruiters here, what are some of the things that you feel are sort of a challenge from your side when you're working with a job seeker who has a good background, but working as well with hiring managers? Because this, I think, is a frustration on both sides' parts.
I was also given some really good information. So while we wait for that particular answer, because I know there's a little bit of a lag and I want to make sure that.
Well, Whitney just put this down. Use the
Okay.
language of the job description in a highlighting section of your resume.
Which I was given information last night by somebody in the customer success field, is you have permission to change the title of your job. Even if it's like, for me, special education teacher doesn't compute in customer success as easily as student success and advocate, and then under, like, in parentheses, special education teacher, so that you still get your title in there, but like it is encompassing of the jobs that you're going to showcase the experience that you have. You can change your title because they're not, even when somebody is going to do like a reference check at your last employer, they can't tell you the title. It's what year, how long you worked there.
So do the three of you have challenges with explaining away things related to COVID, whether it's time off from work or having to take care of things? I'd love to know the perspective of other job seekers here. How are you responding to that? And just to let you know, Terry Seaman says that's branding, what you're doing now, which definitely a call out to him, because I think when I do my networking groups, we talk about different ways to portray your time away. I know that Deborah writing up success stories to show competencies relevant to the desired role. And this is from a recruiter. This is Lori McGee. Employers do look for job titles on your resume and how your LinkedIn profile shows it. Make sure you showcase your resume for the job and highlight what the skills are. Culture and soft skills are important too. And then Whitney, if you have a key accomplishment section at the top of your resume, you can put the transitional skills that would make you a good fit for the role. One of the things, you're going to get lots of advice from lots of different people. And I think one of the challenges that job seekers have is knowing what is the exact best way to go about it. And I think the more that we have these conversations with recruiters and job seekers, the better, I think, for everyone.
Absolutely.
So go ahead, Jennifer Douglas. I mean,
Yeah, no, I think knowledge is power. And I think, I don't want to say systems are broken. I think they're been and they can be made better. And so applicant tracking systems, when you're applying for a position on a Sunday night and then, we decided to pursue other candidates, a couple hours later, no one's really working, at 11 o'clock on a Sunday night. And so, they say gaps don't matter and that there's so much value being a stay-at-home parent. I agree. I feel like I picked up more skills being a stay-at-home parent, especially during a pandemic, than I did working for Fortune 50 companies. But I feel like at the same time, recruiters are saying online that gaps do matter, and that a lot of times they don't get around to asking. And so I think that sometimes you're being kicked out. And then do you include a current career development section? So I'm in networking groups and job seeker groups with other women that are relaunching their career after taking career breaks for caring for family. And so they're doing amazing things. And, whether it's PMPs or PHRs and boot camps and coding and all these amazing accomplishments. And do you include that section? But sometimes I don't know if it's the ATS or if it's just a hiring manager preference, but, you're getting kicked out and you're not getting an interview.
so as Terry says, parenting is loaded with accomplishments, and that's very, very true. So
Yeah.
Jennifer Golding, you want to chime in?
One thing I recently did, because I left teaching in May of 2021, so my gap is not that large and I've been tutoring, is I put on my resume the volunteering that I've been doing. So it fills in that gap, but it also shows that I'm working on building skills. And then I just recently added a course that I'm in to show that, to continue showing that I'm working, maybe not in a paid role, but I'm working to develop my skills, continue my skills in that meantime.
Yeah, so I recently did that. The feedback that I've been receiving from people that I'm networking is, no, don't include a career development section. So, I recently took a professional in HR dual certification course. It was a 6-month course through a university. I'm preparing for the PHR exam. I'm volunteering for SHRM through a volunteer committee. I'm participating in mentorship, SHRM mentorship, and talent accelerator programs. So I'm very active, and like you say, you're volunteering and active. But they're saying no, just leave it where it is, and show that gap from 2019 to now, and don't reflect anything. We just want to see your professional experience. So I think that you could show 1,000 people your resume and you'll get 1,000 opinions. And so I guess my thing is just, does anyone have a cumulative secret sauce? What should we go with?
Whitney, going through a TA firm, is that a talent acquisition firm? If you can clarify that, so to get through the systems allows you to tell your story and explain the gaps. Just to let everyone know, like Whitney and I and a lot of the other recruiters here, we've been networking for a while over the years. I mean, I've been in and out of transition, and I consider a lot of the recruiters on this call networking friends. We've stayed in touch throughout the time, and I think that's a big part of it. Is the recruiting industry. We could have a whole discussion about what's right and what's wrong about it. This is not really, I don't think, the time and place, but it's important to understand that job seekers and hiring managers or recruiters are kind of in the same boat, but from different ways. And I think the challenge is just to kind of break through that. That's why I love the opportunity to have people on this call. And I recommend all the job seekers afterwards look at the conversation and connect with the people on this call, as a next step for sure. So how many of the recruiters, out of curiosity, that are on here, how much of it do you prioritize on LinkedIn? Like when you get a resume, do you go to LinkedIn? Do you look at the certain sections of it? Because it would be helpful for the job seekers to know, I'm going on LinkedIn, I look at certain sections only, or if I look at the whole profile, because I know what I train on, but it's not the same thing as actually getting it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So I have to think, in this case, again, we all got together always through networking. And I think it is so important. I'm an introvert, and I think I told the story to all of you before. I get very worried in the beginning about these calls. What am I going to say? What am I going to do? And if you can get out of your comfort zone like me, anyone else can. I think you have to embrace who you are, for sure. And that's a big part of it.
The other thing, another side of this is the amount of time and energy that goes into actively updating your resume constantly, updating your LinkedIn constantly, updating your skills and continuing your own education, volunteering, being in different groups, going to different, and all of these things can get, am I doing enough? And especially if you are actively still in a job and you're looking for a job transition or leaving, creating a list of things for you to do on high energy days, because I am also neurodivergent. So like there are going to be days where I can like power through things and like get all of the things done and go, go, go. And there's going to be days where I am exhausted and I don't have any energy to do anything, but to keep momentum. And if you have the laundry list of things that you have that you can accomplish that take a lot of your energy, that take a mid-level amount of energy and are low energy activities, you can have that mix in there and feel accomplished even when you don't have a lot of space to complete.
So I have two recruiters that actually put comments, and Whitney said depends on the job. We usually go to LinkedIn. It's important not just to have a profile, but to stay active and make connections and the like. And Lori McGee, I look at resumes from the bottom up, from beginning of experience to current, to get a good indication and story of the person's background, changes, progressions, and interests. One of the challenges that a lot of us have is determining what we should and shouldn't put on a resume. I work with 45 and older, and if you put stuff down that's too far back, how is that portrayed? I usually suggest maybe a bullet point list or something, because your experience from the past may not be relevant, but now I'm starting to think those soft skills are. Maybe not the technical skills, but what you've done in the past, translates into anything that you can put forward now. And I think the soft skills are very much missing, these days. Picking up the phone. Now it's a Zoom call. Why we, a lot of people don't think about picking up the phone as much anymore, for different reasons.
That's true. That's a good point. I think it's just getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's, been my motto, and just having the growth mindset that, I went into this thinking, oh, I'm going to take a few classes, learn the basics of a LinkedIn profile, set it up and apply for jobs. And it's not that simple. When you're in the beginning of your career, it's so easy to land a job, knock on wood, not to say that it is for everyone, and then you think, during your career, I'm not going to speak for everyone, but as a woman, I think sometimes we think our work ethic and our work will speak for itself, and it will once those reference calls go through, and they receive glowing, reviews. But until then, you have to get comfortable with tooting your horn. You got to get comfortable with networking and using a voice. So I wasn't on LinkedIn prior, to a few months ago. And so I'm active now and using a voice and just getting comfortable with all these growth situations, and the opportunity that you presented today to join, First LinkedIn Live. And I'm like, oh my gosh, never in a million years would I have thought to do this, but it's an amazing opportunity. And I think it's just continuing to grow and knowing that it's a journey, and that you're not getting stuck, you're just continuing to grow.
And, Terry, we talk about this a lot in our groups. Job search is extremely exhausting. You have your ups and downs, you have your good days and bad days, and there's no way around it. And I don't think, unless you're going through it, I don't know that you ever can totally understand that. So just to let you guys know, Deb Friedman, she'll, I'm going to say the chat, you can reach out to her, anyone can. And just to let you know, you all have insights and value, just need to connect by choosing the right contacts. Remember, don't rely on applying network. So I think it's important for everyone that really understand, and I know a frustration for me when I hear from people is recruiters never call back. They never call back. They don't call back, or they say they're going to get a job back response in 1 or 2 weeks. That's because they don't even know. Sometimes.
Absolutely.
I mean, and I hate to say it, it's just it's a numbers game to some extent, and it's nothing personal if it doesn't work out.
But with that being said,
yes,
if you have been promised a phone call or a message or an email, just a message that says, we don't have any answers yet, We are still in the process of going through applicants. You are, and that's it. Just a mass email to the people that you have said, we will get back to you by X date. X date comes, send the message that we don't know yet.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And I think that's an important part of it because, you know, I used to have a rule of thumb after 2 or 3 weeks when I was looking, if I didn't hear back, I would just move on.
I just keep moving on.
What?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't wait. Like I can't wait
Yeah.
Right.
for responses because as much as it's as much as I would want that one position, there are X amount of people also wanting that one position. So
Right. So Brian, I think that what you wanted to elaborate, what you wanted Whitney to elaborate on what her last comment was, which I believe was either the accountability partner or scheduling things out. I'm not sure if you wanted to, clarify that in the chat. I will let you know. In the meantime, Lori, the recruiter, embrace the video calls you get. I love meeting people on video. You can showcase your personality live versus words and make a human connection, even if the feedback is no updates. And I think that's a very important thing too, because, it's human nature. We have so many things going on in our lives and you forget about the task or whatever it is, but it's common courtesy, because if you're going to make the overture as a recruiter, just in general, and you really should just send a follow-up at some point. I would ask a question of recruiters on this call. Are you comfortable with people connecting with you on LinkedIn now? Or what's the process from job seeker to recruiter? Do you find that it's okay to do in advance, or do you prefer to do it after? And I'd just be curious to get a sense, because again, this is an opportunity to find out from some recruiters what their thinking is. And I think that's so very good.
I think it's been really helpful meeting a lot of recruiters. And so, they're very generous. I think that LinkedIn is a platform of generosity. And so, they offer, hey, if anyone likes to set up a chat or wants to get a call in, and they'll give you feedback. And I think it's sometimes, for someone that's transitioning like myself, when you hear, wow, you're doing everything and then some, there's really nothing else, just continue. And I think the theme really is to just surround yourself with people that are going to mention your name in a room full of opportunities. And I think that's just the key, whether it's networking, joining professional organizations, fellow job seeker groups, just having the support and the resources. And then once you hear of other roles that aren't related to yourself, you're able to pass it on and share it. And I think that's the key, is just staying connected.
So Jennifer G., did you want to add something? Yeah. Unmute.
It's not.
Can't hear you. Okay. Don't we love that?
Sorry about that. I live very close to Camp Bullis, and they're practicing today. They bring the soldiers up from Fort Sam, and so it's about a mile away, so you can hear some noise. So yes, I'm just to piggyback off what Jennifer said. When you meet with those recruiters and they just have that time for you, it makes that process so much easier, and it gives you that motivation to keep going, especially like when she said, you're doing everything. You're not just there yet. You're just waiting, and you just have to keep going, but you're doing what you need to do. It kind of gives you some validation that, yay, I got this.
And I think they're at the mercy of hiring managers. So if they want
Yes.
certain experience, for me, HRIS systems, and I've used multiple record keeping systems and financial systems and communication and plan documents, all these things. But if they want something very specific, it really comes down to the hiring manager. My feeling is you can teach anyone a system, or I've learned so many on my own, but you can't teach those soft skills and that relevant experience. And so I think that's a place that I'll speak for everyone on the call, that I think that because we're all making that transition, that there's such a tremendous value. And it's just finding the right company that's willing to value the same.
I love when recruiters, I hate that there's such a bad reputation. I do too, actually. I think there's a whole difference between recruiters and third party, where you get the email from 200 people sent out at the same time, the offshore one. And I think one of the challenges is that the industry is not specifically regulated. So anyone can go in there and may not have the specific skills. So Doug, again, great tip on time management on low energy days, being more efficient in task accomplishments.
I know Whitney had stated a little bit ago about the accountability partners.
Yes, I'm going to put that up actually.
And I want to touch on it because it was literally what I just came from. I have partnered with somebody going into customer success as just a body double. We go in, we spend 2 hours together to do the things that we didn't want to do. And we know we have somebody that's going to be there and work with us, have any questions, wins, losses, struggles, and like a connection. And then you go into work. So it's a 15-minute conversation, go into work for 45, connect, and then go in for another 50 to 45 minutes. And you get an hour and a half, 2 hours worth of work done.
That's a great idea.
I know that
I love body doubling.
I have what I call a job search posse, if you will, which is 3 or 4 people that get together and they have different skills and they make themselves accountable to each other. You know, it's not like, you have people that'll keep pushing you, whether it's on interview practice or something else. And it used to be, we would have a scheduled call every day, 9 o'clock in the morning, even if it was just to check in. And it was something that we were very receptive to because it made us all better. So again, this is Scott. I believe this is your Jennifer. This is your person.
Yeah.
Asking for help is definitely one of those important things to do. And I got to tell you, it is extremely hard for people to ask for help.
I would say that's the hardest part. I think that's where I've grown the most. I went into this thinking, okay, I'll just join this job club that I went in and researched the job center. I'll take a few free classes. I'll join the job club and that's it. I'm going to do this myself. I've done pandemic parenting myself. I never use babysitters, whatever. And I'm just very independent. I love to help other people. And so in this journey, I realized you can do something on your own and only accomplish X, Y, Z, or you could ask for help. And I think it's humbling, but it's incredibly helpful. And so, like Amanda, I'm in a group of there's an organization called iRelaunch. And so I was asked to join by other fellow relaunchers, women that have cared for someone and taken a break from their career. And so we meet weekly. And so every week we share something. And so 1 week, we learn Slack. And so now we use Slack and just different things. But just it's incredibly resourceful to do that. And you could go it alone, or you can, employ a village and get so much further and pay it forward.
Whitney, you are absolutely correct on the fact that it doesn't have to be an expert in your field. I have just found that if I'm having struggles looking for positions or job specific questions, it is easier to ask somebody that is also seeking positions or have already been in the job that you're actively looking for. It's just looking for clarity on languaging and being able to really focus in on what you're looking for. But you're absolutely correct. It does not have to be within your field at all. It could be friends that just are both looking for jobs at the same time.
Yeah.
And then there was another thing, but I'll come back to that in a minute because I can't remember it.
I mean, one thing which I've never totally understood is that when people get jobs, in many cases, they don't really come back to network to the groups and things right away. I know that they're busy in the beginning, but I love to know what the journeys are for people that have landed, because I think it's beneficial for everyone else to know what does and what doesn't work. So I think that's a big part of it. When you get a job, and you all will, it's important not just to tell people how you got the job, but to keep networking. Networking doesn't stop when you're looking for a job. It's unfortunately it starts for many people then, but it's not the only time. You're always going to be networking for sure.
I remembered what I was going to say. Jennifer D. The other question that I have for you is then what does it feel like if you're not comfortable with receiving help, then what makes it comfortable for your other people to receive your help? It's that like
Yeah.
that back and forth and trying to wrap your head around the idea that if you are willing to give, the it is a give and take. It is that reciprocal cycle
Absolutely.
that
Like a
actually
friendship.
allows
Absolutely.
you to it allows you to grow better or more because
Yeah.
you are accepting somebody else's position even when it's hard, because there are times where I'm like, I don't want to accept your help, I don't want your feedback, I don't want
Yeah.
any of it, even though I am here. There are times where I'm like, I have done so much change, I've done so much stuff that it's hard to hear. But processing it and letting it kind of stew and like marinate and be like, all right, fine, I'll do the thing.
Yeah. No, I've been really good at asking and reaching out for help, but just I was saying early on in the process,
Absolutely.
it wasn't natural for me. But neither was networking or any of the other things that I've been doing. And I think it's awesome because you just keep stretching as a person. And like I feel like I'm sure you would maybe agree that I've evolved so much as a person and honed so many skills that I didn't need in my career, and that it's going to be it's going to be advantageous when I do find the right role.
I would suggest when you ask for help, be as specific as you can as to what help you need, because there's all different types of help that we all can give. And you're not going to, you're not going to be imposing on most of us. There are some people that are not going to either be able to or willing to help, but you don't know unless you ask.
Absolutely.
It's very true if you don't ask, because if they don't respond or they say no, it's just like if you didn't ask in the first place. But you're going to get someone eventually to respond and give you that help. If you just keep asking, you'll find the right person who wants to help.
And to adjust your question as you have gained more knowledge. So if you're just asking for advice on how to break into whatever field, you're going to get the same thing that you got 3 months ago. What are some more details that you're looking for? Go deeper into the question, because it gets frustrating when you're asking the same question and you're getting the same answer, but you're not wanting, or you already know the answer because you've already asked the question.
Yeah.
You're looking to go deeper. You're looking to get the details, the pieces, but the different groups that you ask, you're going to get the same answer until they know you they know you and know where you've gone and how far you've dug into your resume building, your LinkedIn profile, your networking groups, your own personal education. And that can be difficult too. And it's like, I've already heard this. Like, this is, I've done this. This is what I'm like, has come up in a lot of my own emotional journey.
So as when often takes 10 to 12 times of reaching out to get a response, and most people give up after 2 times. I would say there are different types of recruiters out there, and people on this call are giving and great people. And I think in a lot of cases, I believe it's just the mindset that recruiters, some of them have. And again, it's you don't want to do this as a blanket statement. That's the last thing I want to do, because there's some amazing recruiters out there. And there's
Absolutely.
amazing people.
Absolutely.
And it's like used car salesman or real estate agent, whatever the industry is. You don't want to get branded as that. And that's a very unfortunate part of that. So, again, Brian agrees with you. Your personal struggle is not knowing exactly what the right questions are to ask. And that's one of the reasons sometimes we might work with someone, a job search buddy or something, just to brainstorm. Because sometimes another opinion, again, sometimes if you're too close to the situation, you ask someone else.
Here versus here. You're looking at your nose versus out further. And somebody's looking at it. When you're applying and you're doing all of this, you're looking at it from this spot. But if you can just move it out, you can see all of the pieces that you're either missing that you're needing to fill in, that you're not necessarily knowing how to ask. And Brian, that makes complete sense. I don't know what to ask because I've never been in the position. That's a great spot to ask, to have a buddy.
Yeah.
And have a buddy either in the field already or looking to be in the field, because they're developing that skill.
I'm only laughing because when we first met, we connected about how close we grew up to each other. And we didn't even know that at the time, because Whitney was in North Carolina. I think we were both in New Jersey. But it just led itself to the conversation. And the hardest thing for me and for a lot of people is to take that first step. I absolutely I would send emails out rather than call because I was so afraid. What if they answered the phone?
Oh yeah, don't answer. Don't answer.
You know, I was like, I have my voicemail message all set up already. And it's like, oh, they picked up the phone. Like, oh.
Yeah, I think it's also like being strategic, you know, I feel like that's one area where I could grow more. And so it's like how to be strategic without being transactional. So being intentional with your job search, you know, and so, you know, I don't know how to say his name, Austin Belkak, but he said, you know, think of it in terms of like making a deposit. And so, you know, you comment, you engage, you build up that rapport, and eventually they ask you to connect, or you connect, you know, after a short while. And then, like Amanda was saying, you know, you're very specific in what you want to ask them. And so, oh, I see that you recently did this, and, you know, I've read this, or I took this course, or I listen to your podcast. And so I think it's just being very strategic and intentional.
And I would say the more advice you get, figure out what advice makes sense for you. I mean, even the stuff that we're talking about here.
Yes, you can throw out other
you have
people's
to
advice.
figure it out, not because we don't all mean well, but it doesn't work the same way for every person in terms of what they need.
That's true.
And what part of your personal experience, like personal journey is. My experience, I don't have children. So sometimes my advice is not able to be taken by people that have kids, because that's not my journey. I'm also in my 30s. It might not be the same journey as somebody in their 20s versus somewhere in their mid to upper 40s, because it's not my own life experience.
Absolutely.
And realizing that it is okay to be like, nah, I appreciate your input. I'm gonna log that, but I don't think I'm going to hit that one out of the park today. That one's just going to sit in the on deck space.
You know, I think also what most, did you want to say something?
No, I was just going to say, and be okay, and no, it's okay to filter that out and not feel guilty about it, or feel like you're going to offend somebody. You just do it very politely, and then it's okay.
Yeah. Thank you. And move on.
Again, thanks. It's remembering your journey is unique to you. Thanks, Amanda, for saying that. I don't have kids either, and a couple of others too. I would also say, and I think a lot of people that are in transition, when you lose a job, you haven't lost your experience, you haven't lost your background, you've just lost the place you're working at the time. So take that experience, and whether you do. I mean, I've said for a while, do a presentation to a group, do an event like this. You haven't lost anything. So Alex, who I've held off for a while, Alex is a good friend of mine. He's an interview coach. He'd like to hear about the panelist emotional situation. Are you ready to deal with the job search? And I don't know if you guys are comfortable with that or not, because Alex can be a little bit upfront about stuff. So I don't want to put anyone on the spot.
Okay, so what do you mean? Can you elaborate a little bit more about the emotional situation? What does that define for you?
Mhm.
Because it's a roller coaster ride. I was going to throw out some different language, but it is a roller coaster ride. It is a marathon, and I hit probably mile 18 last week, where everybody hits the wall, and you're not good enough. You're blah, 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 all of the BS that gets thrown into your head when nobody's looking at your stuff. And it's okay to stop. It's okay to stop
Absolutely.
applying for jobs if you are not okay in your in the direction that you are mentally. If you are not able to stand on your feet, pause. And you're going to have those days. You're going to have the days where you're like, I'm never going to, nobody's going to, this is what was in my head. Nobody's going to want me. I can't do this. I'm not enough to be a teacher. How in the world could I be anything other than blah, blah, blah. Like, it was a lot of yippee dog crap.
Don't always make it about connect with people, learn about them, not to tell them about you. When you get a chance, make it about learning about the company. And, again, I love the
It's
recruiters.
easier said than done.
What?
That's easier said than done.
I know. Well, again, this is why
I'm just
we're
letting I'm just stating that, like, it's easier said than done when you don't have a job.
Yeah.
Well, I think
You can't
part
pay
of
your
it-
bills.
Well, and that's a part of this. And again, I'm trying to get a conversation going between recruiters and job seekers to understand what the challenges are. I mean, a lot of it's easier said than done. Some people can say, I can pick up the phone and get this done right away. Others are like, yeah, you can do that, but I can't. And there's that perception, fair or not fair. And that's the thing. This is all about, a lot of the job search is about perception and abilities and frustrations. It's not something you can quantify by numbers on either side.
I agree with you. I think initially, I thought it was going to happen so quick. And so I thought, I had my kids signed up for daycare. I was a stay-at-home parent, and I'm going to start applying right before the first daycare day. And I thought it was all going to happen so quickly. And then when it didn't, after a few weeks, I was like, oh, this is a process. Let me buckle up. And so then I started viewing it as like a journey. And I think that's how the part that's helpful for me personally is being in professional organizations. So I genuinely am getting to know people because I want to know about them, or people that want to set up coffee chats that have nothing to do with my career search, and just learning about them and their career path and that kind of thing. And I think it adds tremendous, value. And so I guess just looking at it as a journey, and then I have buffers of kids, so in a pandemic. So there's COVID exposures and things like that. So I'm not always on that job, thinking about the job. I'm trying to just slip it in where I can.
So this is I didn't even know this about Whitney. I didn't know that she was she drove an Uber for 2.5 years and networked on the side. I know that makes you very empathetic for sure. But again, it's, I know Christine Dykman, who's from our jobs, from one of our places here in New Jersey. She loves your perspective, Whitney, and she wondered if the hiring manager you work with feel the same way, or do as recruiters you have to move forward with what the hiring managers want. And that's a very important point, because you can, if the hiring manager wants A and the recruiters are giving B, can they sell B with the ability that they can do A? I mean,
and that's the thing. That's what I've come across. A lot of the recruiters are like, I'm going to keep you on hand, but right now the clients that I have, that are hiring, they want, the direct experience, 5 years. Yes, you have 15 plus, but they want, you don't have recruiting experience. Yes, you've met all the other qualifications. And so that's why I give recruiters so much grace, because I think, it really comes down to the hiring manager, and there's nothing wrong with that either. It's all just personal preference.
Yeah, I think also it's the idea of, as a job seeker, you go through multiple rounds of interviews. Sometimes it isn't even just one thing. It's like, how many times does it take for you guys to make a decision, or how many, and fair or not fair? I mean, again, that's the policy in some cases, but you wonder, it shouldn't be rocket science.
That was a shock to me coming from education. Typically it's one interview, maybe sometimes two. My last job, it was the principal, superintendent, done. And then to find out, you mean there's like 3 or 4 rounds? Who else do I talk to? What else am I going to share? So it was, and I think that held me back for a while, because I didn't know if I could do that, because I didn't have the experience, and it kind of, really hurt for a while. And then I was like, okay, it's just a different way of doing things. And other people are expressing they're going through the same thing. And that helped by talking to other people who have been through the same thing.
Yep. And I have had interviews where I applied, I interviewed and got the job between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. as a teacher. So special education is one of those that everybody needs it. Like it is a high demand space. So going into and I almost always got the interview at places that I applied for, might not have gotten the job, but I'd almost always get the interview. And this in a different field, in a different direction, is not getting that same validation or being seen as it was when I was in teaching. So that transition portion is an interesting, that played into that negative self-talk quite a bit.
Yeah,
All right.
that's the frustrating part, is coming back from a background in finance and client services. Even yesterday I had several, recruiters and hiring managers approach me with job opportunities. And I think, I want to go into HR. My background, my undergrad is in HR. I've done X, Y, Z. I have all these transferable skills. I'm not trying to be a Broadway dancer. And so my experience is that I just am not getting interviews. And so, it's like, okay, well, what else do I need to do? And do I move into the field that I'm transitioning out of for a short while and then transition?
And that's a hard question to answer, because that's where I'm at. Because I could easily go back and get an education job, but that's not what I want. And I've actually had a coach who said, no, though, this is what you should do. You'll get all your experience. I'm like, but that's not what I want. I'm tutoring in the meantime, so I have like a little income coming in. But when do you make that decision that I need to stop looking for that change and maybe go back for a little bit? I think that's a personal decision based on your circumstances and where you want to go, but it's a hard choice.
Yeah, I'm not there yet. And I think the good part is like all the learning, it's what I'm passionate about. And so I feel like it's energizing me, but then I'm like, at some point I do need to cut this off and, do something, for sure.
I like what Lori was saying.
I'm going to put it back up.
I know you put it back up there.
I'm going to put it back up now.
The networking aspect, I didn't realize how big of a deal this is. I didn't really touch it when I started, but it's not just LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I am in 4 different Slack channels, and I am in the grow, gain, grow, retain group that I stumbled upon on LinkedIn, jumped on their one of their calls, and I'm like, I'm signing up for all of them because they're incredibly helpful and in customer success. If you can get yourself in to be a fly on the wall in a job that you want, you learn the language, you learn the pain points, you learn the areas where you need to develop, and you get to network. You're touching base with people that are in your space. You get to pick their brain. You get to make sure that like you are able to language out your transferable skills in the language of the job.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that right there in the last 2 weeks, that has changed the trajectory of where I'm able to be.
I agree with you 100%.
Part of it also is knowing if a networking group or something doesn't work, leave it. Don't feel you need to be in every group. I mean, we've all done that. I mean, if it isn't working for you, it's not the best time well spent. And that's a personal decision too.
Brian, I think that there's actually groups that work with that transitional from military to civilian life. I don't know what they are, but I know that they exist. I'm sure that you might have stepped into those particular spaces.
And if you look through your local job centers, there's designated veteran, consultants that will assist you too. And there's tremendous resources and classes and people. They are so instrumental and helpful to other people that I've met.
And ask the question, post it as an update on your LinkedIn profile. Ask the question there that you're asking us, because you might take advantage of all the people that are around.
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot of people that want to make sure that our vets are taken care of, because
As they should.
they should be.
There is a such thing as over networking. Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely. It's everything from, I have 5 meetings today, 5 days a week, and next thing you know, I forgot where I'm going. You want to be very, very specific on what you want to do.
Which is also going back to what we were talking about on getting resume and LinkedIn information and support. Sometimes it's just okay to be good enough. It's good enough.
Mhm.
So, I love the stuff that Lori is putting out there.
That's a great point.
Yeah. And I know that too from when I was out of work, I would be, it's the first, one of the things I did is I was at the school PTO, and I made some great connections there. And I volunteered in school. And when you see people there, it's a great way to build a relationship, because you're coming from a different place. You have a different thing in common, and you just never know. You never know who's going to know who.
Mhm.
So what I want to do is to be respectful of everyone's time, since usually end these by around 2:00. I thank the 3 of you very much for being here today, and thank everyone for attending. And I really hope this was easy for the 3 of you to talk about, because I know there was, you feel comfortable, sharing, because I really appreciate that very much. So is there anything else you want to share with the group before we end the call?
I'm always, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, keep in mind, like what Jennifer said, it's a journey. And if you switch to that mindset, there's so much positivity when you look at it that way. Then this is this, this is this, is this. But if I'm on a journey, I have different things to experience on my journey, different sights to see, and I'm going to get there. I just have maybe a different way to get there this time.
Amanda, Jennifer D, anything you'd like to share?
Feel free to reach out, connect. I know mine is follow. Right now is set for follow, but you can actually connect with me. I do actually like connections. And I'm going to be paying it forward when once I get through the door.
How about you, Jennifer?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's just important with a growth mindset, and just like Jen said, view it as a journey, and that, every day say yes to the things that you would have never said yes to before, because it's just going to help you grow and lead to more opportunities and meet really amazing dynamic people that you wouldn't have had the opportunity to otherwise.
So, just as a follow-up, if you go back, this call is recorded. It's actually on my on my stream, and you'll be able to look at all the comments in there as a follow-up. You'll be looking at the comments from the people that posted, and you can connect with them directly. I always like to say that that's a great next step, because you have that in common. You've been on this call, you've shared some information, and even if the person says follow, if you select the 3 dots under, then you can connect with someone.
Absolutely.
Also, and then going into the over networking, it is literally being on call after call after call, constantly on LinkedIn or whatever network, and not actively applying for jobs, because applying is the thing that's going to get you the job or get your foot in the door, at least on top of networking. But you have to put it in the system to know that you're looking there, that you are looking for that job specifically.
I've heard it's an 80-20 balance, that you should 80% network, 20% be on job boards, because you're reaching untapped, the jobs that are not advertised, the unadvertised jobs. When you're networking, it's a job that's going to be posted soon, or, that they're looking to fill, when they receive the funding in a few months.
Just to let everyone know, connect with all of us, ask questions. Don't worry. I think people are so afraid to take the first step. I thank the 3 of you for trusting that this was going to be a good conversation too, because I know we really hadn't done a practice before. And so I hope that it all worked out for the three of you very much.
And thank you for hosting this and,
Yeah.
and having us on. It was an incredible honor. And this is my first LinkedIn Live, and it was a pleasure to be here today.
Thanks a lot. Same with you, Jennifer Golding and Amanda. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you again soon.
Bye-bye.